morning. How are we doing this morning? Yeah? What a beautiful day in Bentry. Now, on to Carpenter Bees. Our topic for today, Predator Full, Dr. Zia Siddiqi.
I'm just going to introduce, and then the majority of the presentation will be Dr. Zia. If you do an internet search for Carpenter Bees, you get a lot of people trying to sell you a Carpenter Bee trap, which is a lethal trap that kills them. Get a lot of information about insecticides and spraying, a lot of pest control companies, a lot of articles, how to get rid of them, how to kill them, more traps and sprays. You got to go pretty far down in your Google search results to get something other than the negative aspects of Carpenter Bees. So which leads us to that question, really. Are they friends or foes? Because you'd certainly walk away from the internet with the thought that they are absolutely foes, and there is no redeeming qualities at all about Carpenter Bees. That's the impression that you get. But we're going to talk today with a broader perspective, and we'll see at the end if we've changed many hearts and minds. I don't know how everybody personally feels. Had a few folks share their perspective on it, but Dr. Zia is going to give us information that'll help us answer that question for ourselves, whether they are friend or foe. Dr. Zia comes to us with over 40 years of experience in urban and industrial entomology, environmental health, and food safety. His roles include, let me get this right here. Dr. Zia was born and raised in India. His PhD in entomology is from North Carolina State University. He's a board-certified entomologist. As I said, so a great, vast experience working in commercial industry. In 2017, he retired as the Director of Quality Systems at Client Services at Orkin Exterminating here in Atlanta. He designed several successful IPM programs in various urban and industrial environments, including organic and green programs. He's a member of the National Environmental Health Association, where he served as the technical advisor for the Vector Control and Zoonotic Diseases section. A lifetime honorary member of the Canadian Institute of Public Health Inspectors. So he's got a vast array of experience, and I wanted to do this program, but I wanted most of the information to come from somebody far more qualified for me as a lover of most living things, to provide a balanced perspective and information here. So Dr. Zia is retired, but now enjoys global travel, quality time with family, including 2 grandchildren, and enjoys senior clubs and playing 8-ball pool. So if you come up and he challenges you with a pool game, there's some experience there. So these are what I covered. I will go, there you go. All right, you're on, Dr. Zia, it's all you. I'm going to come back at the end of this presentation and talk about the goodies we have in the back and how we're going to work on those.
Well, thank you and thank you. Thank Brian for inviting me, and Dara for helping me out with the presentation, and it's really my pleasure to be here. It is a hardship for me. I'm retired now. I don't drive my grandkids to the school because my grandson got his license and a car. So, Brian, I really had to get up early. All right, so a lot of things, we can talk about insects world. I just put down some key points here, and I know the intention is Carpenter Bees and how we can manage it, not control, manage it, and how good they are to us. But just to get before that, how do we get to know the insect world? I think I got few things. I'm just going to touch it, and as Dara mentioned, you can go and do internet search, and AI, go to Chat GPT and put any question. I think they can answer better than I can. But I thought it'll be good to get us that thing. Now, John told me that he mic'd me up for the video, but to talk to you so you can listen, I need to come closer. So I was at a meeting, and I was sitting in the back, and the speaker said, can you hear me? Well, his speaker was kind of vertically challenged, So somebody raised in the voice, say, ask, can we see you? Okay, so here are the things, insect world, a little bit about EPA, because that's the agency which controls the pesticide. When I came in this country and went to NC State, and it's all gone by, but I worked on a lot of insecticides before EPA. And, you don't know what was going on till EPA came, So just a little bit about that. We'll talk about Carpenter Bee, ID, biology, and behavior. When we talk about insects, okay, I need to know where they are, what they like, where they grow, where they lay eggs. And in their egg to adult life cycle, I need to find out where I can do the best, whether to control them, to manage them, or protect them, So I think, and for each insect, it varies. Even for species, it varies, So we need to know what we're dealing with, and we need to spend time understanding that, We talk about pest management principles, okay? What are those? We should look at those, Conventional control strategies for Carpenter Bee. And of course, as pollinator, what role they play. I got some data to share with you. What are some of the other insect species that also help in pollination. And of course, this is the wildlife, so can't leave woodpecker, they love it, they don't like beans, they come for the steak, And that Carpenter Bee larva is delicious for them, CBM, everybody likes acronyms, So that's our Carpenter Bee management points to review. Insect world. Insects came on this planet 350 million years before we came. Okay, I can kill a cockroach with my foot or fly with a fly swatter, but you don't know what's behind them, okay? It's amazing. And they're that much advanced, they're that much adaptable, okay? If there's an atomic explosion, I bet you some of the German cockroach species will survive. Okay, and just I can talk about these things all day, DDT, okay, we all know was there and used, and now it's gone for whatever reason. And it was used one time as a source for mosquito control and for fly control. I'm talking about how adaptable the insects are. And there's an enzyme in houseflies which came in because DDT was used on houseflies, so the system of houseflies developed that enzyme to detoxify DDT. Okay, DDT is gone. If I take a housefly today and analyze it, I'll see that enzyme in it. That's how adaptable they are. Mostly harmful, but a few are beneficial, okay? We can talk about all the diseases. Zika virus was, recently out there, and you name a disease, and insects are involved in it, And bee dance and facial recognition, again talk about adaptability. Bee dance, honeybees, yeah, we got GPS, that's how I came here. Put it in there and it's telling me take a right, take a left, or whatever, Honeybees have the ability, the workers, it's a social insect. They can go out in the field and search out where the source of pollen is. They come back to the beehive and do a dance. They're telling the rest of the workers who will go and harvest the pollen where exactly that source of pollen is. Okay, that's called bee dance. You can Google it. We have GPS now. They have that millions of years before. So that's what I say, how adaptable they are. And still you cannot decode where that ability comes from, but that's there, Facial recognition. we're going to talk about Carpenter Bees. They have the capability of doing that. Even for the bees, you know, the beekeepers who go there, if I go there, I'm scared they might come and sting me, you know. But these bees and even the carpenter bees recognize who the person is, you know. And some of the beekeepers, they go in there and yeah, they do don a, you know, mask and all those things, but they do that, you know. And of course, insect ID, biology and behavior, we talk about that, you know. EPA, pesticides, organic and green, and I got 25B there. That's important. Here we talk about, you know, a lot of repellents here, natural repellent. They don't need any registration. If I can show them that's a food grade, least toxic product, I don't have to go to EPA and get a registration done. But for everything else, I need EPA registration. And in last 10 years, I don't know of a new pesticide molecule which has been registered. It's so darn expensive to come up with all the data of environment protection, you know, health, not only of people but wildlife and in nature. And the chemical companies look at that. Do I spend millions and millions of dollars creating that data? Will my product get registered? You know, so that's again protecting the environment. You know, forgetting the DDT days. You know, oftentimes we think it's organic pesticides are not used, but no. I can go to the organic certified board and say, hey, this thing is not working and I got pest infestation. I got to apply and they'll allow me to use a pesticide, you know. And of course, green, same thing, some of those things. One of the things, you know, challenging is that you take a green product and you take an EPA registered product. EPA registered product has data, efficacy data, okay, more important, that yes, it's going to do what it says. But a green product, on the other hand, most of the time will not have an EPA number on it, you know. We have more toxic product underneath our kitchen sink than the pesticide. This is the key thing. Anything we want to do, people don't pay attention to that conducive condition. And this goes back to the biology, ID, biology and behavior. Where the insect is, here we're talking about carpenter bees, where they are, where they lay eggs, and in their life cycle, what are the conducive conditions which will bring carpenter bee here? Do they come in this room or they go in the other room or outside? What is the conducive condition? So we need to identify and manage those, you know. People say it's not a disgrace to have a cockroach. It's a disgrace to keep a cockroach. I can eliminate, I can bring cockroach on egg case from grocery store, doesn't matter which one. But if my house is clean and I don't have cracks and crevices and food for the cockroach will die, you know. So that's what, you know, it's not a disgrace to have it, but you don't want to keep it, you know. I think one last point here, 1971 documentary, 90-minute documentary. If anybody has seen it, you probably know what it is. If not, I don't know where it's available, but in my days I did see in a movie theater in North Carolina. Entomology departments, Cornell and Berkeley and Kansas have contributed to that. And it had not many spoken dialogues, okay? It was all about insect, insect, insect. And this was the last caption. If any living species has to inherit the earth, it will not be mankind. And goes back to what, you know, how many years they've been here before us. Okay, let's talk about our friend or foe here, carpenter bee. There's some similar looking insects, you know, and that's what we are going to talk about. And that's a female, by the way, we'll talk about that later. Some of the other bumblebees and robber fly, they look alike sometimes, and people, we need to know what they are. But this is a picture, we can see that. But are you going to catch a bumblebee and look at that, you know, or a carpenter bee? People are scared, you know, with their aggressive behavior. But Yes, we can look at that, you know. Here are some of the key identifying characteristics, you know. It's a shiny heinies, you know. Okay. I don't know how they got it, but certainly no hair here, you know. And that's bumblebee, fuzzy butts, you know. Thanks, Dara, for putting the slide there. And on the other side, you see a honeybee. And of course, you know, I look at it different, but you know, but some of the key insect has 3 body parts: head, thorax, and abdomen. A spider has 2 body parts, but 8 legs, you know. Now, this is bee. There's a constricted waist here. That's another characteristic of this insect, which belongs to Hymenoptera, and that's how insect orders are. You know. But this is one of the key identifying characteristics to distinguish between bumblebee and carpenter bee. A more closer look. Let me also spend a few seconds here. All the insects have these technical names, and these are all Latin words. There's a different word out there how you name these insects. Xylocopa means wood cutting. Okay, so that's where that. So here in the U.S., Canada, or somewhere, we know it's English, so we call Easter carpenter bee. But you go in other countries, they may not call it carpenter bee, but the technical name will be the same. And this is, of course, the species, and this is most common in the U.S. So Virginica, probably that's where originally they found it, you know. You always question, we call it German cockroach and American cockroach. I don't know what they call in Germany, the cockroach coming from France, you know. Another identifying characteristic, good to know, male carpenter hats have these white spots. These are the mandibles. That's where they chew. It's like cutting thing. That's where Xylocopa comes. And here is a female with no white thing on their head. Well, you got to really catch it and then see it, you know. But that's different. But just kind of idea. And another thing we need to know, why this guy is harmless. He may scare us buzzing around when we go or see out there. Males don't sting. Female carpenter bee or honeybee, they are the stinging us. And I don't know what it is, but this there. And then carpenter bee is really not that much, it's not stinging that much as honeybees. You know. Now, if you leave them and don't bother them, life is good. It's only when you disturb them, they think they're scared, then they come after you, you know. And I'll talk to you about that stinger in a second here. So let's look at about biology. We talk about that we need to know. Now, they're not social insects. Now, social insects are like honeybee, termites. Those are social insects. They have caste system, and they have work assigned to each one of those castes. But carpenter bee is not a social, it's more like solitary, maybe a few in the nest, things like that. You know. Adults overwinter in the abandoned nest tunnels or outside, they just pass the winter there. This is the time they're kind of emerging, you know. This is January, next month they'll be coming out. And when you get this Indian summer in the middle of the winter, you get like 60, 70 degrees. That's kind of fooling them, you know. They say, hey, let's go, it's a spring. But then, you know, next week it may be 13 degrees, you know. So when they emerge, they feed on the nectar and they start making new homes. This is the time we need to look at where they are trying to get into, drill into the wood, you know. Again, going back to the conducive condition, let's eliminate those conducive conditions, and we'll talk about how we do that, you know. galleries, when they drill the hole, it could be 4 to 6 inches long, and there have been records of as long as 10 feet. Okay? Now, when we talk about pest management, pest control, you got to look at the threshold. Where in the stage, how many holes they're drilling it? Are they really impacting the structural ability of that piece of wood they do that, Is that compromised? And then you got to do something, drastic to improve it, Now, the eggs are laid in these galleries. Now, if there's a new one and there's no old galleries, this is the time they drill the hole, go in and lay the eggs, okay? And they lay single eggs. I think Dara has a video, will show that later how some of the learning abilities go there. And they provide food and nectar and pollen. So when the egg hatches, these food sources are there. The mother taking care of the offspring, so they're not starving. Again, that's part of the insect instinct, they do that. Take a housefly. Housefly will not lay eggs here on this table. They will find that conducive condition where when the egg hatches and the maggot comes out, the maggot is going to survive. That's part of the insect instinct. So same thing happens here. Life cycle 36 days from the egg laying to the adult. That's on an average, but it can vary. Can be quicker or can be longer. Here is a slide, we just talk about, so we are right here, they'll be coming out, they collect pollen, they mate, they lay eggs, we talk about single eggs laying, and hatch and feed, and they pupate and emerge. Now, insects have metamorphosis from egg to adult. So egg, larva, pupa, and then adult, okay? So those are the life stages in their life cycle. They are more vulnerable to any control measures at this part of their life rather than here or here. And then of course, this talks about next generation, flowers coming up, pollen, and then the cycle starts. Okay, let's look at some of the habits. Different types of wood, and I think this is very important when we're trying to manage that. What can I do so they're not coming in? But look at some of their favorites, weathered and unpainted wood, partially decayed live oak, oaks, eucalyptus, hardwoods, incense, redwood, structural timbers. So these are, if you have these, then the carpenter bees will be liking to go there, We talk about wood. There's only one insect which eats wood and digests it. One insect, that's termite. Okay, the termite, we know, the subterranean termite or the dry wood, those termites can eat the wood and digest it. Rest, damage it. Okay, so when you have galleries or holes done by these other insects, you will see the wood frass, the powder. As the termite, you will never see the powder, because they have the capability of digesting it. Here is something we can do. These are the examples of the sidings or outside of your home that will, carpenter bee will not nest. Hardy planks, cement board, aluminum siding, and well protected. You stain it or you paint it, chances are they're not going to go there. When we talk about carpenter bees, they're more aggressive. We said males do not sting. Females have the stinger, but they're not really. I mean, if you don't bother them, they don't bother you. Here is the thing, I just wanted to bring it up, When a honeybee stings us, that's the end of the bee. The bee is gone, no more. It's done. because the stinger stays in our body. Why? Because the stinger is barbed. Okay, so when honeybees sting and they pull, the stinger stays in our body. The stinger is actually an ovipositor. They use this tool or organ in their body to deposit eggs. Okay, that's what it's used for. That's carpenter bee. If you really bug that carpenter bee, it can come after you a few times, you know. Wasps also have the same kind of stinger. A wasp can sting us many times, versus a bee, only one sting. Okay, we're now getting into the pollination. The important part of the ecosystem. Okay. Here are the groups of various insects and estimated contribution for pollination. So look at the bees, and I could not find a separate figure for carpenter bees, but honeybee and carpenter bee contribute to 70 to 80% of pollination. The flies, some of the flies also contribute. Butterflies, moths. Now moths, the difference between butterfly and moth. Moths are only in the night. These are the night flyers. Butterflies are the day flyers. Beetles, wasps, some of the ants and some of the other insects. So if you look at the ecosystem and how carpenter bees are helping us, I'll put that in the 70-80% category, but again, I think honeybee will be more and carpenter will be next, Okay, some of the characteristics. We talk about carpenter bee. Now that's a female carpenter bee. These are called buzz pollinators, okay? They go and they're trying to shake up and the pollen comes on them, okay? They prefer large, tubular, open-faced, vibrant colors, and some of those are like tomatoes, blueberry, eggplant, and passion fruit, and sunflower. This is interesting. Robust pollinators. They're much bigger than a honeybee, and they can carry a lot more pollen from one source to other, so pollination is much better. Now, nectar robbing. Cut flowers at the base. Remember, carpenter bees, strong mandible, they're cutting. So sometimes instead of going on the flower, they can go and cut the base of the flower, and so that's not good, if they're doing that, Some of the negative impacts about pollinators, whether it's honeybees or carpenter bees. Diseases, okay? The honeybees out in the natural population and the carpenter bees, there are diseases in their colonies, in their nest. And some of the diseases are, there's a mite, another one is nosema, chronic bee paralysis, foul brood, and stone brood. So these are also responsible for declining of the bee or pollinator population, okay? Oftentimes we say, hey, it's the pesticide which is causing it. Yeah, sure it does, but then let's look at these factors too. Habitat loss. Climate change is taking place. People are getting rid of the forest and building more constructions, things like that. So they're losing the habitat. We got climate change here. And pesticides. Sure, pesticides, I'll show you, I think, the next slide, what EPA is doing it, but pesticide application at the wrong time can impact the pollinator population. Some of the impact on the bee population, weakened colonies, these are some of the natural phenomena taking place in the declining of the bee population of pollinator. Reduce reproduction, hinder foraging ability, and other stress, that decline the bee population. And that's the same thing for other bees. So before we go and blame the pesticide, let's look at some of these factors. I was at one of these presentations, and it was amazing to see. They didn't talk about pesticide, but what other factors are there which are impacting the bee and the pollination. So now EPA has come up with an advisory box, a label on it, and it says is be safe. Okay, that yes, those pesticides are be safe. And one of the thing is the timing actually, when do you apply and when the flowering is taking place. You need to protect the crops, okay? So there's so many factors going on and we need to make sure. But just to let you know that EPA has got a thing that this pesticide, so if you have to use pesticide, look for those, you know. I can talk about this all day. Spray and pray does not apply. When you talk about pest management, yes, I can always go bring a can of pesticide, or as we work with Johnson Wax, you know, Raid, you know, dead bug is a good bug, you know. So that doesn't apply, you know. Yesterday, I've been talking to an attorney. They want to use me as an expert witness. And I say, you don't have enough information about this thing. You want me to talk about that is, I didn't inspect, I didn't know what they did. You asked me about this insect, I can tell you, but there's no case, you know. So you need to look at what we are doing here. ID, biology, behavior, we talk about that, you know. The integrated pest management process. There are so many things we need to know when we're doing pest management, whether it's Carpenter Bees or anything else, you know. And when we design a program, let's begin with non-chemical first, okay? If the non-chemical doesn't work, then we do something. And another thing here is the economic threshold, okay? At what level it bugs me? At what level, how many holes in the wood is going to compromise my you know, home or structure, and then I do something. So let's find those, you know, whether it's 5 cockroaches are good or 1 cockroach is good, you know, how much can we tolerate? So for each insect, let's look at that and see how many holes we can take in the wood, you know. But start with the non-chemical first and least toxic before I bring the big guns, you know. Data collection and review. Has somebody made observations? Okay, how many new holes we found by Carpenter Bees last year, this year? So if you have the data and you review it, you can come up with a plan, you know. Training and communication. You know, Brian and I, we work for commercial pest control, and we had a lot of national accounts, large national accounts. They don't want to be in the 6 o'clock news saying their stores are shut or they found cockroach on their food and things like that. So when we go and look for their business, they want to know what Orkin has, why you are so, you know, well to do my job, you know. In this business, there is no trade secret. Whether you hire company A, B, C, or D, everybody uses the same chemical, same license, same vehicle, everything. The key difference is the training. The person who comes to do the job, what kind of training he or she has. That's the key in this business, you know. So it's important that the training and communication is, if we have a commercial pest control, then who's the guy? Who is going to tell what to do and think? Not just he came, spray and sign and he's gone, you know. And this cycle continues. Okay, pests don't know that this is a long weekend coming, you know. It's 7/24, okay. So the cycle is kind of, the key here is that you need to have integrate pest management. Look at everything, you know. And then designing a non-chemical, and data collection, review, and training. These are some of the conventional control strategies for Carpenter Bees. Treating individual galleries. When you see hole, you treat it. Do not seal for 24 to 48 hours because the pesticide is in there, and you want the bee to be, larva to be getting to the lethal dose. Then you seal the holes, and abandoned carpenter bee may be adopted by other mason wasp and giant resin bee, and then carpenter bee rarely attack painted wood. So this is the pesticide part of the business, but we don't want to go there, We want to be natural and protect it. So let's look at some environmental things here. Now these are commercially available carpenter bee traps. There's no pesticide in it, okay? You see the holes drilled, and they go up like that at an angle, and below that is a bigger hole. So these holes get connected to and here is the jar. The magic here is that carpenter bee will go in there, no attractant. The attractant is the wood. They go in there and basically they get trapped and hopefully die. When they die, they release a pheromone. That pheromone is attracting more bees, but it's not going to protect them. Is whatever goes in there, those number of carpenter bees are gone. Okay, but that's why we call it traps, And these are commercially available. People can make it. I know we're going to be doing some here. So let's look at the other side. That's the filet mignon for our woodpecker. And of course, if you look at woodpeckers' biology and things, they are trained to go and look and find those, okay? So you don't want a secondary problem with that. So if you don't have that, then we don't have that, And I think Dara has something more at the end. But woodpeckers are attracted to the bee larvae, and they peck through. We talk about larvae and talk about the stake here. There's another side of this entomology. A lot of research is being going on. You already had your breakfast, and it's too little early for lunch. But major food companies, I'm not going to name them, they are working on extra source of protein. And you know where that source of protein is coming from? Insects. Okay. The Entomological Congress, International Entomological Congress, every 4 years we meet, and we spend day and a half, 2 days, talk about how protein can be extracted from insects. It's not yet there commercially, but watch out. May not be in our lifetime, but next it's going to come. And I guess I'm here. I'm sure you might have more questions. And
Do y'all have any questions right now for Dr.
or if you have questions now, I'll be glad to. I might have provoked a lot of thoughts, about.
Okay, thank you.
No questions, then good. Thank you.
So knowing all this, we have this question about, okay, so what do we do, right? And I'm going to try to convince us of some strategies that are non-lethal to the bees, right? Because I believe that they are worth us trying to develop a live and let live kind of approach to this. There's a book, if anybody's interested, called The Mind of a Bee, which is fascinating, and it helps you appreciate their worthiness of all this effort instead of just finding the quickest way to kill them, right? This is hopefully convinces you that they're worth saving, and things like the fact that they have a level of intelligence, I'll say, that is demonstrated in their ability to have the adaptability that Dr. Zia talked about. No people, no faces, no flowers, and you can tell from studies. I'm going to talk a little bit about the studies, but I sort of approach this from the perspective that we are We humans are thinking and feeling beings in a world full of other thinking and feeling beings. Not the same way we think and feel, but doesn't mean it's not happening. Right? So let's talk about practically for a minute. When they emerge this spring, because I know everybody wants practical solutions to this, right? When they emerge this spring, let me just see. Okay, so one of the slides didn't make it in here, but let me just, this is why I feel like there's a level of intelligence. There's some studies that have shown things like that bees learn. They, you can put a drop of nectar in a tube, in a dish, attached to a string, and the nectar is covered by glass, right? So they can't get to it. They learn to pull the string to move the nectar to where it's accessible, or to hit a tab on a wheel to move the wheel around so that the nectar becomes accessible. The thing that's even more fascinating than that, to me, is that other bees can watch this happen and learn from that. So they didn't do it, but I saw it happen, and then I can go 98% of the time and replicate that same behavior that I just saw happen. And I think that's pretty amazing, speaking to their intelligence and understanding of the world around them, which is why I'm particularly anti-trap, because of the idea that they're all in there dying, crawling around on top of each other as thinking, feeling beings is just a horrific thought. But anyway, the after they emerge this spring, and the timing of this is intentional because we are here now where we can change the cycle that Dr. Zia talked about, right? We can influence where they make their new homes after they emerge. We need to fill the holes that they came from, right? And so if you have them and you don't want them, I'm saying if you don't want them, if you want to stop what people will feel is the inevitable woodpeckers coming after them, then you can fill those holes, right? And refresh that, do it fully, make sure that you do it completely so that they won't be able to go back into that hole, right? And then let's start fresh. And we're going to talk about what that means. But I wanted to throw this in that about what do you do about the woodpeckers. I did some research on this, and the irritate and bird banisher, the owls don't seem to work. I've had many people say you put a fake owl up and the woodpeckers are afraid of the owls. These two things, as far as the studies show, are the most effective. They are holographic type, foil tapes. There's a lot sold out there. Some get damaged, or they get rained on, and they lose their snap, and they lose their shininess quickly. So you have to invest in ones that will be durable, and they flap in the breeze, and the way that the light shines off of them is really repels the woodpeckers. And these are two specific products that have way better reviews and ratings and proof behind their effectiveness for the woodpeckers. And this is, you apply it at the areas of your home where the woodpeckers are coming to. So, and another just practical tip, I've heard of a lot of people say I had to replace a post, I had to replace a handrail or a fence post. When you do that thing you took off, keep it. Take it and put it away from your house, because they will go back to it. So don't throw it out. Use it to attract them back to that, because they will reuse holes and they won't come after your new wood, hopefully, right? And so those things are golden. Don't just dispose of them. Just move them away from your house. Okay, so these are. And sticky tapes, I've seen this more like this big glob or some kind of contraption that's supposed to be made to look pretty, that everything goes on it, sticks to it. Well, guess what else sticks to it besides the carpenter bees? If you particularly don't care about them, birds, lizards, bats. Yep. It's horrific to have to deal with that. It's a really bad way for them to go. So I would say avoid sticky products at all costs, right? And broad insecticide spraying. I mean, you're just killing everything, right? Way more than your target. Okay, so what can you do then? All right, well, what I hope you don't do. Because we have to do something, right? I mean, we're not willing to just let our homes be eaten. So we have big investments in our homes, and then we need to be protected. So a couple things that we are going to do today. Back in the back, and there's not enough back there for everybody to have every one of everything, but there are like maybe 10 or so. So if you think you will use this, I want these things gone. I didn't buy them just to show. I want them out there in the community and used, and I hope that you report back on the effectiveness of these. These are fake wasp nests, and I've had several people say they've used these. Some people make them out of paper bags, or they've had real wasp nests, and the carpenter bees stay away from them. They are enemies. The carpenter bees and wasps are enemies. So this one is more canvas, and you stuff it with plastic, grocery bags or something. This one's paper, so it would need to be hung like up underneath the porch, and you hang these in places where you have the bees will avoid these areas because they don't want to put their larvae where the wasps are. So that's what these are, and these are readily available on Amazon or Ace, Home Depot. Back there are water bottles and citrus oil. It only takes a tablespoon of it's sweet orange oil. It's very pleasant smelling for us. It's very unpleasant for insects. I don't know why. Yeah. Maybe Dr. Zia can explain why they don't like it, but they don't like it. So when you spray this, or almond oil, I've heard, is another one that we don't mind. Rubbing it on the wood, spraying it on the wood at the times where you're seeing them start to go in, and it will deter them from that area. It is something you have to keep up with. It's not a one and done kind of thing, but regular spraying of problematic areas. So feel free to take a spray bottle, put some of the orange oil in that, and then fill it up with water and use that. See, it's another option to deter them. So if all we're doing is saying, well, here's where you can't live, another option is to give them, well, here's where I want you to live. Provide something more appealing. And that's what these Carpenter Bee homes are for. So there are, I think there's 20 back there. I didn't know how many people were going to come or would want to commit to using these, but this is an example of one put together. It's a soft wood, it's soft pine, cedar, untreated. You can make one of these easy enough, and if we don't have enough for everybody that wants one, we'll make more and we'll get them. These are just blocks of wood where the holes have been pre-drilled. So this is started. This is using their biology to encourage them to live in a different place. They're opportunistic. They'll reuse holes, as Dr. Zia said, so we're leveraging that fact. These holes are starter holes. It gives them a leg up, and they'll use it. So the holes are started, and it gives them a place to tunnel and make galleries and lay their eggs. So the idea is that you place this, if you've got a railing or an area where they tend to be after you fill the holes that they've emerged from, right? You can put this there or mount it on a tree, facing south. I've got some papers back there that have these details. Facing south, southeast, so they get the morning sun. They like that. It warms them up. We want this to be the most conducive conditions, creating this for them so they come here and live. The small tubes are for mason bees or leafcutter bees, other small bees that may take advantage of those. They tend to nest in the stems of flowers that we allow to overwinter, like coneflower, so it's why in some of the natural areas you don't see all the vegetation cut down over the winter, because the insects take advantage of that. But these are kind of glued in, so there's glue back there. So what we have back there is the shell, and then a lot of components. So this was the fun part. So you get to put together your own bees condo and take it with you. Decide if you want. So this is one that's done, and this is another one. This has got a bigger, there's no right or wrong. There's some folks that are going to help guide, like the angles. We want the angles to be kind of up. So don't turn the block around, because then if there gets water in it, it'll sit in the hole and have water in it, so you want it to drain out. So besides things like that, and you want it to be kind of tightly fit in there, and you can put a little bit of glue on the straws I don't really know how much they'll be used, but maybe. And they're cute. You don't want it all on one plane, having the different, one being a little further out. It's got an overhang to keep it out of the rain, to protect, but the differences in the planes, some being a little further recessed, help the bees know which nest is theirs when they return to it. They use that data to find their own nest when they go off and feed. So you're going to put these together. There are shims and wedges to kind of tighten it up in there. And then there's some extra wood at the top to mount it on a tree. These last about, the idea is they would last about 2 years. Soft wood, it's going to degrade. And that's a good thing, because as diseases, we talked about one of the threats to bees is diseases in their nest. And so we don't really want to create something that's the idea it'll be there forever, because it will get diseases and funguses and moisture built up. So this is a start to say, like, okay, well, what do you do? Besides, works on the same principle as the trap, the hole, but this will lead to a better end for the bees. So that is what is back there. I invite everybody to go to the back, get whatever solution, whatever your personal needs are at home, what you think that you'll be willing to do and keep up with. Want to see the products that are there. If they're gone, then you let us know. We get you some more. Or you can buy them yourself or make your own. It wasn't hard. Kenny made them. God bless you, Kenny. Thank you. and Kenny and Larry Bishop did the pre-drill, started all the holes. So I appreciate that help. So and with that, I think, Brian, when everybody is done in the back, and please take advantage of this. Give it a try. Then our program will be over, and we really appreciate you coming and learning and finding ways, hopefully, to open your heart a little bit and coexist with the Carpenter Bees. I hope we've convinced you a little bit they can be your friends.
Tell me what diameter of the hole.
Between 3/8 and a 1/2 inch.
Okay.
That's the hole you want to start with. Some people just get a big post, a big like 6x6 soft untreated post.
Good morning. Welcome to this community gathering, neighbors. You'll see a few new signs and a few new things this year to kind of open the door for us to, as I call, have a resurgence. That we'll grow and learn and have more people involved and open up Lake and Wildlife to everyone here in the community and grow and learn and have fun. So, very good. We will move on. Our mission, I always speak to, living in Bent Tree is a privilege, which includes the responsibility to care for our natural world around us. Therefore, Lake and Wildlife works to preserve the natural beauty and wildlife of Bent Tree by encouraging BTCI, the Bent Tree community, and residents to be good stewards of our natural resource. So our goal is threefold: monitor what's going on, what's wrong, what's right, educate people about what's going on here in many fashions, and volunteer. We always have volunteers. Today's agenda, and again, so everyone knows this meeting is open to all residents, and we have new people here today, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. We'll have our welcome of the new people here today, our board liaison report from Artie, which we always have every month, and Artie will give us an update from the board of directors. Community reports here for Lake and Wildlife, the treasurer's report. And then we'll have our Carpenter Bee presentation with Dr. Zia Siddiqi and Dara. And I think that'll be a great presentation on Carpenter Bees as well as what to do or don't do. And I just like to personally welcome Zia here. He'll get formally introduced, but Zia and I worked for 35 years together. You know me as the water and stream guy, but I'm also the bug guy. And he and I worked together at various pest firms, from PCO Canada, SC Johnson Wax, Johnson Wax, Raid, Glade, Edge, and Pledge. Don't forget the Ziplocs to put them in. And so we had various adventures in those firms, and then were acquired by Rollins, by Orkin in Atlanta, and finished our career of 10, 15 years at that point with Rollins. And so it's an honor and pleasure to have Zia here with us today to speak. And he can speak on any bug and any pest in IPM. So we may even have him come back if he'll come again. Okay, we're going to move right along. For everyone here, Artie's going to give us a little update from the board of directors. Artie, come on up. Artie.
All right. Morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here. This is my second tour of duty as liaison to Lake and Wildlife, and I love it. This is the favorite committee of mine amongst all of them.
Well, you're our favorite too, Artie.
So the role of a liaison is to give you an update on what the board is doing, what actions we've taken, what projects we're working on, what are some of the important initiatives. So I'm going to do that, and as well, I attend the Lake and Wildlife Executive Committee meeting on Mondays, and then I go back to the board and tell the board what you guys are doing. So, at our last meeting this Tuesday, we approved the 2025 Courts Committee officers, Chair Melissa Hucks, Vice Chair David McCabe, Secretary Bill McNulty, Treasurer Leah McAllister. We also approved the LAD Committee officers, Tony Young as Chair, Robert Calhoun as Vice Chair, and Tim Long as Secretary. Now I'm going to read you a resolution that we passed, which is relevant to Lake and Wildlife. Now therefore, be it resolved that the board will create a sinking fund for the capital needs associated with the maintenance of Lake Tamarack. Funds deposited into this fund will be used exclusively for improvements and maintenance, and funds deposited therein cannot be used for other purposes or transferred out of the fund. The fund will be known as the Lake Tamarack Maintenance and Renovation Fund. Now we've already, now, here's the rest of the story. First of all, we've already budgeted $100,000 for this fund. Dredging of the lake, if we did it today, all three coves, would cost $1.5 million. Ow, yes, that's right. So if you do the math, $100,000 a year for 10 years, you don't have, at the end of 10 years, you don't have enough money to dredge the lake. Brian tells us if we don't do any dredging, in about 9 or 10 years, you won't be able to launch your boat from the dock. and we won't have a beach. So we have a serious problem here. And this resolution, while it reads well, it's nice, it's not binding to future boards. We can put $100,000 into this account for years, and 3 years down the road, a board can say, you know what, we need to put that money elsewhere. So we got a real issue here. We're setting up a ad hoc committee of Lake and Wildlife for dredging, and I'm going to be the liaison, and we're just going to take a deep dive and see if we can figure this thing out. Another very important project of the board is the development on the 28 acres at Cove Road and Bentry Drive. This is number one. We're going to have a community vote sometime within the next 6 months to get approval to develop that property. Now, before you vote, there will be town hall meetings, and there will be a lot of information disseminated, and you'll have an opportunity to ask a lot of questions. This is very important. I have a tendency, I like to look at numbers. If we develop that property, if you give us approval, take about a year to get permitting, maybe 2 years to develop, and after that, the income, annual income, will be somewhere in the range of $250,000 to $300,000. That's important. So we're going to do a lot of work over the next few months to make that happen. Another project is we've got about $1 million for paving this year. We're going to pave Oglethorpe Mountain Road. And next Wednesday at 2 o'clock at admin, we're going to open bids. You're all invited. Next Wednesday at 2 o'clock at admin. The Bentry employees did something pretty interesting last year. They voted on Bentry Employees of the Year. You probably saw this in the Friday news, but just want to recognize the director, which is Employee of the Year, is Michael Corey, manager John Hopkins, support staff Connor Head, Water, Heather Garner, admin, and Jamie Goss, grounds. And part-time is Katie Patino. I think a lot of you that go to, yes. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Artie. Very good, very good. At every meeting, we have that report from the board, so it's very important to be here and get that detail. And very happy to see the work on Lake Tamarack. That's great, Artie. And hiding back there's Buddy, who's the chairman of the board. Buddy, thanks for always supporting us. And Ralph. All right. To some committee reports. This is Lake and Wildlife Committee report update we have. Fundraising. Tamarack Treasures, of course, is coming up, and also hanging baskets. Deb has asked to say just a couple items on Tamarack Treasures, who manages Tamarack.
I won't take but just 1 second. We had, due to Mother Nature, had to change our donation collection in January, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to the folks that supported us on January 20th. It was 13 degrees at 10 a.m. when the volunteers showed up to help us, and so thank you for those of you that stood outside in the freezing cold to receive the donations, and the many of you that showed up to give us donations on that day. It was impressive. I could not believe that you came out in the cold weather, so we really appreciate it. Because the weather was so cold, however, we realize that there are some of you that may not have been able to make it that day. Please know that we didn't shut the door and close it and lock it at that point in time. If you have holiday items that you still would like to donate, this would be fall holiday Christmas items. If you will get with me or give me a call, text me, whatever, I will be happy to arrange a time for myself or one of our volunteers to come meet you at admin and accept those donations. If you're not able to come down, we will make a delivery pickup to your house. So again, thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
In conjunction with the Lake and Wildlife Executive Committee, I have just a couple announcements to make overall, which is that the changes this year in the committee itself are minor, but I want you to know that, as you know, Rick Patterson is stepping back in a way, and Jim White will be stepping into his shoes as my co-chair for Lake and Wildlife. Jim, appreciate it. And also Eldon is stepping back, as you know, and he's still in Florida. Lucky guy, but anyway, tending to Linda. And so Miguel Rodriguez is going to be taking his place. Miguel? Thank you very much. This is really great. We have a number of people that are very interested. Fundraising will be moving over a little bit into the treasurer's role. As you know, Marietta is stepping back because of the wedding of her daughter, which is very important. ABTV, of course, that's Andy, her husband, and Andy is with her out of town. He continues to do landscaping around the admin area and also is putting a plan together with admin for the cabin, landscaping all around the cabin down there. That's been redone. Wildlife, we just mentioned, deer and geese and hogs. The deer population is steady. It's slowly coming down, according to the count. Eldon told me. And of course, the geese are back and forth because of the hot and the cold. But the beacons are working, and the population is staying down. Hogs have not been seen. So as far as wildlife, that's what we see right now. Lake and streams, Huff is still recovering, as you know, taking it easy, so he's making some meetings and some he can't because of the heart situation he had.
We didn't know that.
Oh.
Tell us what happened.
Well, he had a minor stroke, and luckily it happened at the hospital. And so he was in there thinking he had another problem, and it wasn't. He thought maybe he had COVID or something else. He was hard time breathing. But anyway, he was tested, and they said, well, you've had a little stroke here. And so they kept him overnight, and sure enough, the next day he had another small one. But he's on medication. He couldn't even do 3-4 holes of golf, but now he's able to do 18. And so he's recovering. He's feeling better. He's not drinking. And life is hard sometimes. And but he can't fish, which you know is driving his wife crazy. So, but he is getting better. He's golfing now, and he's under medication. And unfortunately, he still can't hear or see any better than he did before. But he's doing fine. But we're still trying to get the fish population down to the smaller fish, and he's even gone to the local high schools and area fishing teams to ask them if maybe they'd like to come out and spend a day, and he would supervise that to kind of draw that type of the population in the lake down. We just have a lot of abundance of the smaller fish, and so he is sorry he couldn't be here, but in spirit he said he would be. As far as the monitoring, myself and Mason and others that help us in our stream keepers group, we did our work last month, and the 5 incoming lakes streams are doing well. The pH is all around 7, dissolved oxygen 9, 10, 11. So we're in good shape there. There's very little turbulence. Of course, there's been very little rain, but it's holding. And also alkalinity, which is how strong it is, has been in a 40 to 50 range, which is good. So our streams are healthy coming in. The lake is holding, same type of PODH. And so we're in good shape there at the lake, and the exit going down along swapping out. Last meeting I gave a quick update, and I'll just say we're making real progress on Mulligan. If you see us working down there on Mulligan in a joint work with BTCI, we have completed the log laying, and we've also pulled back some of the stream banks that are now going to be ready for work on coconut weave and other plantings, and so we're almost there. We've laid, in my estimate, almost 2,100 feet of logs down there. And that's a lot of logs, but they're 10-foot logs, and it's a lot of work, but it reinforces that road going in, which would ultimately be a road that the dredgers would use to go in to pull. So we have to have that road and have it safe, and then it keeps the stream banks from cutting back again. You know, some of them were cut back 4 to 6 feet and just washed all into the lake. So we're trying to diminish that. So it's moving well. We're making progress, and thanks to Ashley and everybody on his crew. Habitat conservation, Dara.
Yes, hey everybody, I'll just say that if you haven't seen the Habitat Conservation Plan, it is on the website under important documents, I think, like same place you found like CCNRs, you could read it for yourself. we'll be focusing in 2025 heavy on implementing a lot of things that it talks about. Big one being the residential recognition program or natural landscaping program. So getting the details of that together to be shared, which basically is encouraging people to have a certain type of approach to their private property and acknowledging when people do that, things that are natural to the habitat of bent tree, native plantings, and so that's a, like a little medallion of some sort that maybe goes on your lot post that says that you support this program. So some sort of definition of what that is and how to adhere to that and recognition for that. Also, common areas, if we're working in common areas like over at the spillway, you'll see a little white and green sign. I can't get them to stand up straight, so if you ever see them leaned over, feel free to stick them back in the ground and make them stand up straight. That's a natural habitat area. If anybody is interested in learning more about native plants, getting involved, I have several small areas, like that you could kind of own or manage. Review it at your own leisure, like whenever you have free time, and we could work alongside you to explain what this area is for and what is there, what to look for, what's good, where is it going, and you can have a small plot of common area, like say by the dog park at the back gate on the hill there, or up in an admin garden bed that you might because a lot of times people want to be involved, but they have other commitments, so it has to be on their own time schedule. They can't meet at certain times. And so if anybody's interested, let me know. We could kind of, you could become like the sponsor or owner of a small patch of land of bent tree and learn about native plants in the process and leverage all the experience that we have within Lake and Wildlife. So.
Thanks, Dara. And a thanks to Rick, too, who developed that committee that keeps Lake and Wildlife involved in a lot of things that are going on in the forest and the habitat. So, Rick, thank you. Communications. Of course, they continue on. Dara's our communications person, and we have Friday news, we have Saturday news, and of course, Wednesday habitat update. Dara, any little update to that? Or? No. Okay. It's good. She is so busy. She's working full-time, too. So, no, she's doing a good job. And I want to mention under communications that we are really privileged and happy to have Teresa Hoppy, John's wife, join us, who's had years of experience and degree in marketing and done trade shows and marketing and sales to volunteer to help us further enhance our communication, streamline it, get banners right, get things together. These cups were Megan's idea. See, we're getting a lot of input, and so we're going to try to continue to market us as a group that people would like and that they would come to. I'm going to go over one more. If you haven't seen that one, this is the first start. This is the sign that was up down at the post office, and we're going to move that from the sign and the post over into the post office railing back and forth with Peach's help. But a new sign, this is a start, monthly neighborhood gathering, okay? A lot of people thought that, this was a members only deal. And, you had to be a member or you had to be a partner, so you had to make a donation to come here. So, it's just what's out there, what's the attitude, how do we grow, how do we resurge the group? So, monthly gathering open to all residents and their kids, right? All right, because we have a whole new group of people coming into the entry with you. Saturday, Club Tamarack, free coffee and donuts, so okay, there goes the budget. No, it's 9:30. So I hope that will continue to bring more people into and with our group here. Go back. Project maintenance, trail signage, plantings, that's going on. Small projects that we have in regard to the trails and watching along the power lines. We're going to be working on a couple items, a little more parking area up on Denny Ridge by the trail where you can go in and hike. Rick is helping us with that. And also to fix up a little bit that bridge down on Sally Doss, which is in kind of a rough shape. Special events, that's Luann, and Luann is stepping back a little bit this year too. There's no special events going on right now other than Luann stepping back, which is good. She's been doing this for 9 and 10 years. Robert, you've been here for 9 and 10 years, and Denise is volunteering to help take over the coffee, which will bounce back and forth. Jim is taking care of the donuts, our new co-chair. Thank you, Jim. And so, Luann, anything to say?
Just that, you know, the next big event is the fish fry, and really it's so laid out. We know exactly what we do, and things can change, but it's so easy that if somebody wants to take over a special event, it's just right there. It's not tricky or hard. So, and I'm glad to help with whoever wants to work it. So, and there's a big group of people that always help with the whole event, so it's not like it's in your lap by yourself.
Okay. Thanks, Luann. Trails. I'm going to have Mason come up and talk about trails just for a couple minutes here. He's got some good things to report.
The main thing I have to report is the Chestnut Cove trails. We've been working on those for several years now, and I personally have been working on the Mountainside Trail, which is the orange trail at the bottom. And if you want to go ahead and pull up the next slide.
Sure.
This shows you a depiction of where the trails are and what they are. The white trail starts out at the parking lot, and it's a long descent. There's a nice waterfall down here at the very end. And the only problem is when you get down there, you got to go back up to get to the parking lot. Same thing with the yellow trail. It's an ascent, and this time of year there's good views up there. The orange trail these are all old logging roads to this point, and from here across is rugged terrain. And that's where we've been cutting in the new trail. And I'm right about to here right now on the descent coming back down to the white trail. The ground's been frozen ever since the snowstorm, and it's frozen about almost a foot deep up there. So it's been difficult to complete that part of the trail. But I'm on the descent, and we're planning on the hiking club hiking these trails on our next hike, which is right now scheduled for February 11th. Since it is new ground, you know, the wet weather makes the descent part a little slippery, so I may have to watch the weather and see. We may have to adjust the date by a few days to make sure it dries out enough that it's not too slippery. All of these trails, I do recommend people use hiking sticks for them. There's some elevation there, and you can pop that up. This kind of gives you an idea of what the elevation differences are. The white trail is close to 300 feet, same with the yellow, and the orange might be 400 feet. But white, you descend down and hike back up. Yellow, you hike up and descend back down. All of these are around some nice streams, especially this time of year when we're getting rain. There's some really good streams there. And then the orange is more of an up and down. We're hiking that. The other thing that we've been doing, we've gotten a lot of benches, some really durable benches that are going to be installed on the different trails. I've got them all assembled right now. I think we started out with a total of 9 real nice park benches, some with backs, some without backs. And as soon as we get done with the orange trail, we'll be starting getting those things installed on the trails as well. So hiking club is right now scheduled for February 11th, which is not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, with a rain date of the 13th. And I may adjust that a little bit. If we do, we'll put out a notice to everybody. Any questions?
Thank you, Mason. Mason has done a lot of work on these trails himself, and others have helped. Stephanie has been a big help, I know, and probably a worrier when he's up there on the ice playing around. And only the Bears know how much time you've spent up there, right, Mason? But thank you very much. Mason is the liaison between Lake and Wildlife and the hiking club. So everything the hiking club is doing, Mason keeps us aware of. We help with their communications of their hikes and different things now. So it's broadcast better. You'll see more on the hiking club through us too. Volunteers, we're coming up with ideas for the volunteers and awards that we could probably do. We have yet to determine another way to do it this year, but we will be awarding some things to volunteers throughout the year. More to come on that. Treasurer's report. Denise, our treasurer, come on up.
I think this fairly simple. We started out in January of last year with slightly over 11,000 in revenue. We brought in 29,000, a little more than that. Our expenditures were almost 30,000, and our ending checkbook balance, when all the checks will clear, will be 10,283. So we're in a good spot. We spent part of some December and January meeting with the committee heads to get their budgets and projects, and we're going to present that to our executive committee. But there's a lot of programs that we're developing to utilize the funds that we've got, as well as fundraise for some new projects. Any questions? Thank you.
Brian, really quick, on volunteer shirt strike, I think I have a really good inventory, and we did budget for some more if needed. So for those that don't have one and are planning on volunteering, or for those that have had, yours is a couple years old and you might want a newer, fresher one, let me know, because it's like a 6 to 8 week process. So before spring gets geared up, I want to make sure everybody can get outfitted in their shirts. So if you need one, stop back with an email, let me know. And as a reminder, this is our short sleeve version. And this is the long sleeve. So just come and see me if you need a new one, or if you need one period, and we'll make sure that we get one to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate it.
You notice it said volunteer on the
Yeah.
It's not a freebie.
Yeah, there you go. Upcoming events in education. In March, spring, Miguel Rodriguez is going to do a presentation on spring, which is going to be very interesting. And we will also have an update on the Lake and Wildlife itself, as well as the new executive team and what we're going to do. April, Chris Felt talk about Ventry and the whiskey that was done around here and in Ventry. May, we're going to have one on snakes. Yeah, that'd be cool. June, Mark Warren's coming back. You know Mark Warren, his books on living in the wild, living in the teepees, all that. Well, he's going to do one on medicinal plants plus other plants that are helpful to nature and ourselves. There'll be no July meeting. August, we'll have marble mining around Ventry from some of the people here at the marble mines are going to talk about the area. Oops. And so as we get into the fall, September, October, we'll fill those in with some topics that you are interested in or would like to do, or maybe some more pests, depending on if Dr. Zio wants to come back. No, we have other things, and then December we'll have the annual report given by Jim Pryor, which he always does. We need people in Lake and Wildlife. We are appreciative of all those new people that come and hope you'll come back. We're helpful if you can help, if you'd like to volunteer, anything you'd like to do. VentryLakeandWildlife@gmail.com. That's our website. You can just shoot something in there if you have a question or want to help further.